It's Sunday morning, and every decent man and woman is listening to Test Miles with Nick Miles on FM News 101 KXL. Buckle in.
We have assembled a team of car freaks here at the station to enlighten you with witty banter, useful information, and fun automotive topics. Our team in the studio, I will announce them in a second. My name is Nick Miles, and we're here for the next hour with Test Miles, your automotive show. Oli, the Viking Volvo seller, weren't you going to bring your daughter in, Oli?
No, not today. I mean, I was...
do you have to coax her?
To come in. No. She wants to come in. I wasn't next week.
I just feel you would be putting a trail of candy out to the car.
I ended up sleeping on my brother's couch, so it was just easier just to come straight in.
Oh, dear. There's a story there, isn't there?
There is. We were celebrating the life of a good friend yesterday, and that ran late.
Lots of drinks, lots of alcohol.
Yes.
That's responsible.
Oh, no, your mic's not working, Sean.
Son of a monkey's uncle.
There you go.
Good thing that wasn't on when I said that. At least you were responsible and crashed on someone's couch instead of driving.
That's right.
Sean, our TV producer who loves cars, his cat, and nothing else. You crashed a Lexus this week, didn't you?
I didn't crash a Lexus. A raccoon ran out, and it was one big raccoon, and I did take a little chunk out of the front bumper. I did try to swerve, but... Was
it a red raccoon? Because I noticed a red scrape on the front of the car.
No, it wasn't red. It was red afterwards, but... Please, PETA, don't come after me.
You're going to have to fix that before you send it back to Lexus. You know that, do you? You'll be telling us all about how car versus raccoon in what we've been driving the segment this week.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's talk about what's on the show this week. We will be doing the news quiz in moments or so. We're also going to talk about the All-British Field Meet. Paul Deschain's going to be here to tell us what that is. And it's spelled M-E-E-T, by the way, not M-E-A-T. It's not the All-British Field Meet.
Oh.
As in like a steak.
That's a different party altogether.
Peter Clover will be in studio to talk to us about lots of things happening in the automotive tech world, including our Project Discovery, which we've been doing. We've been renovating our 2002 Land Rover Discovery 2, and he'll tell us what we've been doing, what's been done, some things about heated seats and very flashy headliners. And also, we'll be telling you what we've been driving this week. But as in every show at the top, we like to tell you what's been going on in the news, and we do that in the form of the news quiz. So I will ask general questions, and our team will tell us how educated they've been this week in following what's been going on in automotive news. So the first question is, which cars are getting iced?
Ding.
Oli.
Electric cars?
Yes.
There's new terminology as far as etiquette that's being created, and I had to kind of, I hadn't heard it until I kind of went through, and I saw an article on this, and there's a new term. Iced is referring to internal combustion engines.
Right.
So there's the etiquette as far as if you have a plug-in hybrid, electric vehicles should have first dibs at the charging station. That's one part of it. It also goes to, there's a term called must.
Right.
Musks. M-S-K, musks. As far as like Tesla's parking in EV spots where they have a much longer range. So, I mean, this is all new to me as far as EV
So basically
etiquette.
what's happening is people are parking in the wrong parking spaces. When parking spaces are defined for different groups, people who don't have those vehicles are parking in them.
Well,
so
the tricky part is there's nothing defined. There's no, I mean, yeah, if you don't have an electric car, you shouldn't be parking in an electric spot. But then you get into the etiquette part, and this is where I had to do some learning. You know, once you're charging, move from the spot. Don't leave your car there and go shopping because somebody else needs to use the spot. If you have a plug-in, if you have something that has a longer range, then people that are just electric would like it if they had first dibs at the charging station.
So here's my take on it. First of all, if there is no fine, by the way. If you park in a space which is defined for an electric vehicle, there's nothing to stop you doing that apart from the smart little sign that Fred Meyer put up in their parking lot that says electric vehicles only. Now, if it's on private property, somebody could take offense to that and they could have you towed. But if it's in public parking, there's no existing law in most places, and someone I'm sure will call in and tell me that I'm wrong if there is one in Oregon. None that we could find anyway. The second portion to that is I don't agree with the portion that says electric cars get first dibs over plug-in hybrids. You buy, in the HOV lanes in California, you buy an electric car so it meets HOV laws so you can drive in that lane. I don't think that, you should have to, if there's too many electric cars in the HOV lane, then hybrids should have to move out. Plug-in hybrids should have to move out. I think plug-in hybrids, just people put range extenders on their vehicle.
Well, that's where it was confusing to me, and I was like, okay, I was trying to understand the etiquette. I mean, I understand the theory of what's being said, but yeah, you're right. I mean, there's no penalty for parking there. I mean, if you have if you have an internal combustion engine car and you're parking there and you're not using the spot, then obviously, yeah, that's very simple. But you get into who gets first dibs at the plug. I don't know. It gets a little more complicated.
I see them, Fred Meyer, all the time at 82nd and 82nd and Johnson Creek. People park in that parking lot all the time without electric vehicles in the electric vehicle spots.
Well, because the spots are so nice. They're even better than some of the handicap spots.
But they're right up front.
Yeah.
And you know what I try and do? I've started this new thing where I park as far away from the store entrance as possible, because
it's exercise for
30
one.
seconds of extra exercise is great for you.
Yeah, and then you don't get as many dings. I've been doing that for years. Like, I'd park my car way out there and walk a mile just to make sure it doesn't get dinged by a shopping
Wow, that's a
cart.
big parking lot if you have to walk a mile.
That's a big store.
Yeah, big store. The other thing I would also say is I think it should be by age. So the older you are, the closer you get to park to the store, because it's harder to carry those shopping bags, right?
Sure. Well, I mean, don't they still help you out if you want?
I don't know if Fred Meyer do. I know Safeway do.
I mean, does that still happen?
I think Safeway, yeah, is about the only store.
They
that
always say,
actually
would you
does
like
that.
help out with your bags today? I says, no, she can walk on her own. Thanks. All right, the next question. What American car brand is planning to launch a hybrid that will beat the Prius?
Ding.
Sean.
Ford's announcing in 2018 they'll have a hybrid engine that'll come out and actually compete or beat the Prius. They're not announcing what it is, but they're just saying that there should be something that comes out and competes with it.
Do you know what amazes me? By 2018, we're supposed to have self-driving cars, and it sounds like Ford is saying, hey, we're going to do things that everyone else was doing in 2002 in 2018.
Well, the thing is like their hybrid sales are actually down because of their EcoBoost engines doing so well.
Right.
And a lot of people just don't see paying the premium price for a hybrid vehicle when they could get a EcoBoost engine that's doing almost the same amount of fuel economy, but $10,000 less.
What street legal race car just announced pricing for 2015?
Ding, ding, ding. That's me.
Sure.
This is probably going to be my most favorite car of the year, but the Corvette Z06. They're announcing that the hardtop will be $78,995, and the convertible will come in just over $83,000.
Yeah, but from my understanding of driving the Stingray when it first came out, it was priced at a certain price, but I probably wouldn't drive one for less than $75,000-$80,000.
Basically, when you got all the racing package on this, but this
I don't
is
even
just...
need that. I just need to have the nice, comfortable package, the extras. You know, I know it doesn't necessarily count for Corvette, but I like to be able to unlock my doors with a fob rather than a key, and those base price cars always seem to start about there.
Yeah. But I mean, this is basically their street legal car or street legal racing car because it's just designed off their racing team.
Here's a fun fact for you. Did you know that 5 years ago the Z06 convertible would have been physically unable to be built? The technology has only been developed in the last 5 years with a car of over 500 horsepower to be able to have a convertible roof, because it would have fallen apart before then. So
Wow.
A lot of these things are very, very modern. What hybrid gets a supercharged upgrade?
Is that the Prius?
I think you need a ding first.
Ding.
And it's not the Prius.
Oh.
That would be the Honda CR-Z.
Oh.
Yes, sports hybrid.
Sports hybrid. It's getting a horsepower bump up to 193 from its 130.
I hope this car is better when it comes out with a supercharged update. One of the things about the CR-Z, I love the idea, I love the shape, I love the size, I love everything about the car, but the drive was very disappointing.
Well, because it was mimicked after the CRX, which was, I'm not going to say a great car, but it was a fun car to drive, and it had power to it. And this car was just, you got behind the wheel thinking you're going to get the same experience, and Granny's in there, or Brad in his, Roto-Scooter was passing you.
You're picking on Brad because he's at church this morning. He's not here, by the way. What compact car earns a top safety pick this week?
That is the Honda Fit.
Yeah, they just announced that the Honda Fit made it to the top safety pick this week. And final question this morning, what iconic animal turns into a hotbed of innovation for the brand's first electric car? Which, nobody knows?
I think, well, it's the hamsters, right?
Yeah, the
For
Kia hamsters. That's right. They've gone female on us.
Oh.
So I was looking at pictures of the new Kia Hamster, and it's a girl.
I think they're launching that in tonight's MTV Music Awards.
All right, it's either a girl or it's a lead singer of some band boy.
Well fit.
Yeah, just long boots and big black rubber suit.
Well, I didn't know if the first ones. I mean, you assume that they're guys, but
No,
they're
they're
hamsters. I mean,
I don't
They're
see.
wearing tuxedos. They're guys.
well, you can't see.
Yeah,
Wow.
and all the girls are screaming at them.
You can't
I'm
see
gonna- that's a-
anything.
Wait, you have
Could
to
be
see.
anything. I don't know.
Oh, this show is fast going downhill. We're going to learn about the All British Field Meet. We're also going to learn a little bit about what's going on in the latest car audio tech updates with Peter Clover. Paul Deschane's up next. You're listening to FM News 101 KXL. This is Test Miles. It's a Sunday morning, and I'm Nick Miles.
Test Miles, like NASCAR, but with one right turn. TestMiles.com.
You're listening to Test Miles and FM News 101. You can find us at testmiles.com. If you're a fan of the show, you can go and listen to past episodes at testmiles.com by clicking in the upper right-hand top corner of the little button that says Radio Podcasts. Now, here's a fun fact for you you can impress your friends with. There are more than 1 billion cars on the Earth right now, some in better condition than others, which brings us to our next subject. Oh, my mic's cutting out. Is that you, Sean? Are you yeah, no. You're cutting my mic out, but thanks for that anyway. Here's a fun fact about the All British Field Meet, which is what we're going to talk about. Around the Labor Day weekend, it's held every year, and a bunch of guys get together in a field and show off their British cars. The event, the All British Field Meet, not M-E-A-T, but M-E-E-T. And here to tell us all about it, you may know Paul Deshane from his days at the Oregonian or his writings in New York Times or Chicago Tribune. Paul, why is it called the All British Field Meet?
Well, I suppose basically because it's held outside. It must date back to horse things, where you'd have to have a field if you were going to have horses, and that's all I can figure. Plus, it is on a field here. It's not like in a park like it is in Vancouver, BC.
So, give me a synopsis of the event if somebody wants to attend and has an unnatural, extreme love for British cars.
Well, let's see. You can go there and see about 800 cars, a ton of stuff from the 60s and 70s. By the 80s, they were all gone. And then there's kind of this resurgence. The Minis are really kind of one of the core groups. And, of course, they're fighting a rearguard action against the Neo Minis, because everybody's kind of sort of suddenly assumed that because it says Mini, they're in too. And it's gotten to a point now where basically the old Minis are now outnumber the new Minis about 2-1, which is probably about where it's going to sort of stabilize. It's a bit like, hey, kids, get out of the pool.
Right. So that's an interesting topic because, if there was an all Swedish field meet, would you have new Volvos in it because they're technically Chinese?
I don't know. I think if you had a Volvo meet, you'd have people running their Odos forward so they could claim more and more miles.
I've driven my car for 1 billion miles. So these cars it's a culmination of 7 different groups. And when and where does it happen?
They have a gathering on Friday evening at the PIR where basically they all go in, sign up and so forth. The show is on Saturday, and that's the big event sort of thing. That's where all the cars will be all lined up in their groups. And this year, for the first time, we're actually going to, Jeff Zoshmi and I are going to MC the thing and also lead tours. So if you wonder what you're looking at, you can go out and actually figure it out. There's about, I would say, probably about 25 or 30 marks, and the other is always the category you want to look at, because that's the stuff. Portland was a port of entry for so long, and it had a good dealership here with Monty Shelton. A lot of stuff came in, but generally speaking, so if it failed close to home. So
Right.
They've always been in garages somewhere to be revived.
Right.
And because we don't salt the roads, and few people trusted English cars well enough to drive on a daily basis, there's a lot left.
And so Portland is a hotbed then for those British cars.
Yeah, it absolutely is, and it's better than Seattle anyway because the climate's better. This is actually pretty forgiving.
It's pretty close to England in some sectors, although I do tell everybody in England it rains, and it really rains for a day, whereas here it sort of mists for most of the year.
Yeah, but there's 90 days out of the year where this is the place to be. From July the 6th, can't guarantee the 4th,
Right.
through about the end of October. And then it
Right.
starts raining for the next 6 months.
Right.
And that's when you just push the thing in the garage and say, well, it probably wouldn't start anyway.
You're the only person apart from myself who actually says that. I mean, so clearly. I've said that for years, and most people think there's something wrong with me. Tell me what sort of cars we can see if we go out on Saturday.
Well, you'll see all the mainline stuff. This year's focus is on Michelotti, who designed all the Triumphs in the 1960s. And actually, that's a lot of the best stuff, because in the 50s, it was all pretty sketchy. But he came on board in 58 and kind of wound it all up in the late 70s. And so that's all the things that we see. It's all the Spitfires. It's all the TR2, 3, 4, 5, 6s, and so forth.
7 was the last year of the TR, wasn't it?
Yes, but the TR7 was Harris Mann. That was the wedge. That is a rotten car. It is just not worth fixing. It is still awful. The TR8, everybody has hope for. And it actually does work, but it's still ugly,
Right.
The rubber bumper. There's like a curse of the rubber bumper from '76 on.
Right.
And actually, there are plenty of people now retrofitting rubber bumper Bs and midgets into earlier cars by taking all that stuff and throwing it away and lowering. And that's a good way to buy a B or a midget that isn't all beat up and hasn't got 10 million miles on it. You just had to throw away all the rubbish that was put on it in the '70s,
Right.
and make it look like a '60s car.
Right. It's kind of a fun project, too. What about the SUVs, the Land Rovers, the Range Rovers, some of those, not so much?
Well, no, the Land Rovers have their own great gathering, and it's kind of like a Serbian refugee camp. They all kind of gather together and put tents up and everything. All you need is like the smell of cooking pots and smoke kind of coming up from it.
It's the camping crowd.
Exactly, yeah.
What about those top-end cars, the Rolls-Royces, the Bentleys from the heyday of the British Empire?
Well, there's a handful of those there. There'll be probably some 50s Rollses and Bentleys, but when you get into the late 60s and the 70s, you're into the monocoque Shadows and so forth, and those aren't Rolls Royces, they're rollers, and you know what a roller is, don't you, mate? That's what all the bookies get.
Exactly.
And they drive them and they're so expensive to fix that basically there's a bunch of them limping around. Every so often somebody will find a barn find, and it'll say, $5,000 could be yours. Drive a Rolls Royce, And as Peter Price, who was a mechanic here, an English one, who you would have loved, said once, he said, Paul, he said, the wrong Rolls Royce can be a bad deal free.
right. And how do you get into a Rolls Royce? So, you basically have to spend about $50,000 to probably get those old Rolls Royces back to being roadworthy.
Well, the deal is with all that stuff is if you can't afford a good one, you really can't afford a bad one.
Right. Right.
They just swallow you up. The Shadows have, like, for example, the rear suspension on those is from a Citroën.
Right.
Oh, that's a good idea.
The big spongy cars.
Yeah, and the brakes are incredibly complicated. And I had a friend who was Keith Reichlein, who was a Rolls-Royce mechanic here, and he was working on one time, and I was leaning over the hood with him while he was fiddling with things, and he says, he puts his tools on, and he looks at me and says, if you ever buy one of these, do not bring it here, or I will never talk to you again.
Oh, dear. So they do have a very poor reputation with everybody. All right, so tell us again, the All British Field Meet, where we go, how we find out more.
Okay, let's see. Well, there's a website. That's good. It's Friday night is where people gather. Saturday is the show. Sunday is the swap meet if you want to buy something or sell something. There's a rally on Sunday, too, a proper TSD rally this time, which will end up there about 4 o'clock. And there'll be awards there. We'll be doing awards on Saturday at 4 and Sunday for the rally at about the same time.
Excellent. You're listening to Test Miles on FM News 101. I'm Nick Miles.
Favorite us, tweet us, friend us, love us, all at testmiles.com.
It's a Sunday morning on FM News 101 KXL. Test Miles, Portland's automotive radio show at testmiles.com. Try following us on Facebook. Here's a fun fact for you can impress your friends with. Every day, approximately 165,000 cars are produced in the world. Now, Mobile West are our friends, and they're friends of the show, not only personal friends, but friends of the show. Peter Clover joins us in the studio this week to tell us about the latest car tech and interesting, cool stuff with cars. So I know that when people buy brand new cars, a lot of research is done on what they complain about, what they don't like about. We heard about, in our Fox segments this week, we're doing a story on the car with the least complaints about the seat is the C-Max. Only 1.6 people complain, but in fact, interestingly enough, 10 out of every 100 people complain about the seats in their car when they buy it. But a bigger number complain about their audio system, right?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, J.D. Powers and Associates had a article out just a couple months back that about 38% of people have complaints about their factory audio systems on new cars because they don't work the way they think they should be working, or the
Is that because
interfaces
of interfaces probably more than everything, right?
Yeah, because a lot of companies are making their own proprietary interfaces. You know, one company has a system that's developed with Microsoft, another one has a system developed with Sony. Everybody has their own proprietary systems that either work or don't work very well with the newest tech.
I have friends who go out and buy cars specifically for them to work with their cell phones, with their devices. And if the car doesn't work, they don't buy it. You know, for instance, if it has just an audio jack plug, they don't want that. They want it to integrate with their iPod, or they want it to integrate with their Samsung. They want to make sure that whatever they carry around that is their daily communication with the world integrates with the car. And it's kind of interesting when we get in some of these new cars, they have 25 different cables that go to different devices that will charge them, will read the music from them, those type of things. But because of the evolution of this, where car companies are now realizing that often a cell phone, especially in the younger XY generation, is more important than the car itself to a lot of people, which is a shame, but true. They have things like the new Apple system, right?
Oh, absolutely. Apple's been working on this for about 8 or 9 months, the new Apple CarPlay. It's their own software and integration scheme so that people can have a uniform experience in the car. Have it plug in your iPhone 5 with a cable and replicate a suite of apps right on the touchscreen of the radio. I know Volvo and a couple other manufacturers are starting to engineer their cars and develop a CarPlay system. Last week, 2 of my men were down at the Mira Knowledge Fest down in Texas, where they were able to talk to the Alpine engineers, see the new products. Alpine is making a new dedicated aftermarket CarPlay radio.
So if you now, well, let's work with all systems, because what frustrates me is I don't like to get into a car where it only works with Apple or it only works with Samsung. I want to be able to get into a car and have it work with whatever I happen to have in my pocket. And a lot of guys aren't making sure that it works with them all.
That's very true. In fact, you know, I mean, this is slightly off the cuff, but my little brother had a 2011 M3.
Right.
And he had a BlackBerry phone. And it actually caused the car, when it was connected via Bluetooth to his phone, to not turn off.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you have to disconnect the phone before you could turn the car off.
You actually had to turn the Bluetooth off of your phone before you walked away from the car, because if you were within 50 feet, your car would never turn off.
I think that's an interesting point that you make, because I think a lot of companies are doing things now with the systems that had poor systems. For instance, BMW has become miles and miles ahead of where they were probably 2007 when that system was developed for the 2011. You know, now you can integrate your GoPro cameras into the car and all these sort of things. But a lot of times, the Apple Play system for those people that already have an existing car is also another good thing, isn't it? So you can go in there and you don't have to change out your car because the stereo works. You just get a new stereo.
Absolutely. Well, yes, it's technology. Technology advances, and with the advent of the smartphone, technology advances faster than we could ever imagine.
And so all these new things coming out. You've also been working with Jaguar cars on some of their new crazy ideas, right?
Yes. We've been doing some very custom builds for Jaguar Cars UK, and building a couple of vehicles that are, one is currently on the automotive tour circuit, and we have another one in the shop right now that we're doing.
Are they going to integrate some of your work into new features in the vehicles, or?
Well, we're talking about that, because there's a different, you know, when you start working with the car manufacturer as far as what's possible and where, you know, our direction is going and how they can have more of an open source look towards the audio integrations and video and smartphone integration into cars. You know, a car that has a 5-year-old used car has completely outdated tech in the dash.
Right.
And so you've got to make things so that you can update them if you're going to have a good long-term experience with customers and cars. You know.
And purely, you know, Jaguar are moving their tech office to Portland. We've heard that rumored several times, although they've asked us not to harass them for a story just yet because they're not quite ready to talk about it publicly. But we all know they're advertising for jobs that Jaguar's new tech office will not be in Silicon Valley. It'll be in Portland, Oregon, which is quite a coup for the city. So clearly they're going to be working with local vendors.
Absolutely. And, that's important to have a fresh perspective on things.
Let's update ourselves on Project Discovery. This is our 2002 Land Rover Discovery, which you have been working on. You have been doing new interior and new audio systems, so basically gutted the interior. You got some exciting stuff done on this car, right?
Oh, absolutely. This has been just a gorgeous and interesting project where, and also customers that have come in and asked about it have come seeing it mid-project and are just astounded with how you can change a vehicle.
I haven't seen it, by the way, so I'm anticipating some fun.
I know some of your boys have come by the shop and took a look, and they're already making plans for their own vehicles.
Yeah, Sean actually sent me pictures of a couple of pictures that he took probably about 3 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. So what's been done so far, and when are we looking at T-0?
T-0, I am planning for next weekend.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we are really, really close. We were hoping for this weekend, but we redid a couple of the upholstery items. We got them done in the car, looking at it, and there are times where you can have something that's a little too extreme for your own good.
Right.
So
I like extreme, but if you have to live with it on a day-to-day basis, or I'm not a beige guy. Like my kitchen is never going to be a beige kitchen, but at the same time, I like some things interesting. But when you got to look at, always interesting to me is I love to look at these cars that come in interesting colors. Not sure I could live with all of them, like the plasma purple Mitsubishi Mirage. I'm not sure I could live with that color every day, but I like seeing it once or twice. So I'm glad you tailored it back a bit so I wouldn't have such a hard time driving around, be blinded by the colors on the inside.
Well, that is one of the things. It's a custom project. You're making it the way you envision it. And, sometimes you've got to use your knowledge and skill and tone that back a little bit. And sometimes you got to build it that way. You got to go pull the color up, see how it looks. And if it's just not going to flow, well, redo it.
So new seats, new carpet, new stereo system, and apparently you put heated seats in the vehicle too?
Oh, front and rear.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
My dogs are going to enjoy their backsides being warm, nice in the winter.
Well, yes, and you will as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody does.
Exactly. Well, I can't wait to see it. If people want to find Mobile West and see some of the great work you do, some of the audio systems, some of the upholstery work, the complete car experience, how do they find you, Peter?
Well, mwpdx.com, so mobile, or mobilewestpdx.com. Either one of those websites goes right to our website. Facebook, we have many, many thousands of photos up on Mobile West Facebook page so that you can, go see. We, try to throw photos up of
some of the work that you've been doing and some of the projects that you've undertaken.
Yeah, currently and mid-project, so you can just see what sort of work is actually involved with making a car fantastic.
And we've always said this, and I'll say it 1,000 times more before the end of my career in broadcasting, go down to the shop, listen to the audio systems that they have there. You cannot experience this by me telling you about it. You have to understand how different it is. Peter will take out time. One of his guys will take out time to walk you through some of those audio systems and something that you can have in your car. The sound is so different than you could possibly imagine. The shop is located at
140 Northeast Broadway, kitty corner from Broadway Toyota and Kia.
Right by the Toyota and Kia store. I love to come in there and just listen to the sound systems. I'm sure that you'll give me a walkthrough when we get the vehicle finished. It's always always great having you on the show, Peter, and we'll look forward to getting the delivery of Project Discovery in the next couple of weeks.
Absolutely.
Excellent. You're listening to FM News 101 KXL. It's a Sunday morning, and this is Test Miles. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about the cars that we've been driving this week, and some of them, they'll really excite you. I'm Nick Miles.
Test Miles, like NASCAR, but with one right turn. TestMiles.com.
You're enjoying your Sunday morning listening to Test Miles. There's more on our Facebook page, the Test Miles Facebook page. And here is a fun fact you can impress your fans with. It takes less than 60 months to get to the moon if you were to drive at 60 miles an hour. I'm not sure I want to drive for 6 months. 60 months. That's a long time.
What are you driving up to the moon, though?
I don't know, but there's a lot of cars go faster than 60.
I mean, this isn't the Jetsons
60.
where our cars are flying yet.
No, it's definitely not. All right, this is the part of the show when we talk to you about what we've been driving this week and review a few cars. I have been in the Lexus RX. I also drove the Dodge Challenger. And Sean, what did you drive?
I had the Mitsubishi iMEV Electric.
The what?
Mitsubishi iMEV Electric. Sorry.
Sorry, say it one more time.
No.
Wait,
The iMEV Electric.
From who?
Don't worry about it.
Mitsubishi?
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Oli, what did he say? Can you translate?
No.
No, me neither. All right, let's talk about the cars I've been driving. The Dodge Challenger. This is the new 2015. I actually had the Hellcat version. It keeps the classic lines while adding more power, better fuel economy, and enhanced technology. Tastefully styled with upgrades, 8-speed transmission. Promises fuel economy improvement and a larger touchscreen interface. No manual transmission, however, in the V6. A 6.2-liter V8 Hemi supercharged is what I was driving, 707 horsepower, 8-speed automatic. I apologized to the guys at Starbucks at 82nd and Johnson Creek when I went through for the noise it makes. And the guys turned around and said, "Oh, don't apologize."
It's a sexy sound. I love when that car turns on.
It's so loud you can't hear if you're talking next to the car when you started. 8-speed automatic, rear-wheel drive. I'm getting about 13 miles a gallon. Competition, pretty much nothing. Uconnect system is the tech on the inside. Love the Uconnect system. I think it's one of the closest things to a car that you don't have to replace the aftermarket with an aftermarket system. The Uconnect is Chrysler's system, and I think way too much power for me. My driving impression is just pulling out of Harmony, going right onto 82nd. The back wheels went flying out in the intersection, and I hardly touched it.
Here's the question. What key were you driving with?
Oh, you don't drive with the black key. You drive with the red key. The black key only gives you 500 horsepower. The red key gives you a full 707 horsepower.
They gave you both keys?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't touch the black key. That's for your wife if you're going to give it to her.
Oh, that is the worst sexist comment I've ever heard.
Okay, it's for anybody.
Sean, wait a second.
Yes,
are you
if
married?
My girlfriend is...
Are you married?
No, but I have a girlfriend,
Oli,
and if
married?
she heard that question, I'm going to get beat.
Yes.
Great. Oli, would you give your wife the red or the black key?
I don't think she would care. I mean, 500 horsepower.
But what would you offer
horsepower.
her? What would you offer her?
I don't offer. She just takes.
Oh,
she
no.
just takes what she wants.
I didn't realize your relationship was like that. I realized
she's like, I'm just taking this one.
she's a pants-wearing girl, isn't she?
That's right.
Excellent. I would offer my other half both keys because that's the honorable thing to do.
Okay.
Regardless. But Sean's wife would only get the black key because that's all she deserves. $61,090 starting price, and my score 10 out of 10. Also drove the Lexus RX 2015. I had the RX 450h, which is the hybrid version. Delivers on its promise an impressive fuel economy, utility, and luxury. For the hybrid luxury crossover, this SUV is a great choice. Fuel economy, I would say excellent for it. These are the good parts. Smooth ride, quiet, attractive cabin with high-quality materials, comfortable rear seating, and generous standard features. Still think the outsides of these vehicles are a little soulless, and they could get a little more advanced with the exterior styling. The electronic interface can be distracting to use, and the third-row seat is optional in it, but I think it's a little small. 3.5 V6 is the gas engine, along with electric engine, 295 horsepower, a CVT transmission, all-wheel drive, 3228 is the miles per gallon. Its competition, not in the hybrid version, is probably the MDX and the Q60 from Infiniti. The trim levels are the 350 and the 450h, and the tech on it has this kind of mouse button on the inside. So you put your hand on this kind of, I guess the best way is to say it's like a gaming joystick. Then you can move around the screen and you can click the buttons on the side. Kind of clever because it will anticipate what you're going to go towards as far as an item on the screen, and it'll jump to that. So you don't have to mouse all the way down and click. It knows what you're going for, and it'll jump over to it. And it hasn't got it wrong once when I've been driving the car. Very smooth and soft for the driving impressions, a little bit squidgy. 54,570 starting price, 8 out of 10 for me. Sean?
I had the iMEV Electric, and this was going to be this Mercedes-Benz Smart Car 4-door version till they sold Dodge. It's a nice vehicle. I love, because the battery sits low in center of it, that the drive is really nice. You can corner really well in it. And driving it, I didn't realize how many people actually followed this car and loved this car. I had tons of people like stopping me and waving at me, and even one guy like asked me how he could customize it, because it looks kind of like a bug. But this guy just pulled me over and wanted to look at it, and he was all, if I had this, I'd put like flames on it and scissor doors. I'm not joking. It was weird, but he was all about that car.
They've dropped the price significantly of this vehicle. They've completely loaded it with tech and dropped the price way down. Right?
Yeah, the one I was test driving was 23, and if you buy one, you get a $7,500 tax rebate, so it drops it down to 15 grand. And you get a nice charge out of it. I didn't get too much range anxiety. You get about 70 miles. It takes forever to charge if you're plugging it into a wall. It takes almost 22 hours.
That's a long time. All right, Test Miles on FM News 101 KXL. You can get more from the show at our website, which is testmiles.com. We're also on Facebook and Twitter. We will have more information coming up for you next week, and we anticipate the delivery of our Project Discovery, our enhanced Land Rover, which is a Discovery 2002 version. It will be at the Portland Auto Show. We'll see you next week. Thanks for listening. I'm Nick Miles.
Throw it in neutral and coast in with TestMiles.com.